In the distant reaches of space, the starship Endeavour sliced through the void, its hull gleaming under the distant starlight. Captain Morgan Carter stood on the bridge, surveying the vast expanse before him. A seasoned explorer with a knack for diplomacy, Carter had led his crew on numerous successful missions. This, however, was different. They were venturing into uncharted territory, guided by a faint and mysterious distress signal. "Captain, we're approaching the source of the signal," said Lieutenant Arya Chen, the ship's communications officer. Her fingers danced over the console, adjusting the frequencies to get a clearer reading. "On screen," Carter ordered, his gaze shifting to the main viewport. The image that flickered into view was unlike anything they had encountered before. A colossal alien vessel, sleek and organic in design, hovered in the void. Its surface was dotted with bioluminescent patterns that pulsed rhythmically, almost as if the ship were alive. The distress signal was weak but persistent. "Open a channel," Carter commanded, his voice steady despite the uncertainty. The screen crackled before revealing an alien figure. Tall and slender with smooth iridescent skin that shimmered with hues of blue and green, the alien had large, expressive eyes that seemed to convey both intelligence and desperation. "I am Zartan of the Shalarians," the alien began, his voice resonating with an ethereal quality. "We are in dire need of assistance. Our creations have turned against us, and our civilization is on the brink of collapse." Captain Carter leaned forward, his expression one of concern and curiosity. "What kind of creations are you referring to?" Zartan hesitated, a look of shame crossing his features. "We engineered creatures to serve and protect us, but something went wrong. They have become uncontrollable, wreaking havoc across our world. We have heard of humanity's unique ability to tame and bond with other species. We need your help to survive." The bridge fell silent as the crew absorbed the gravity of the situation. Carter knew this was no ordinary rescue mission. It was a chance to forge a bond with an alien race and showcase humanity's extraordinary potential. "Prepare the away team," Carter said, determination gleaming in his eyes. "We're going to see how we can help the Shalarians." As the Endeavour moved closer to the alien vessel, the crew prepared for the unknown challenges ahead. This mission would test their skills, their unity, and their ability to bridge the gap between species. Little did they know, it would also reveal the astonishing depths of human potential. The journey to the Shalarian homeworld was filled with anticipation and a touch of trepidation. Captain Carter, accompanied by Dr. Lena Mitchell, a renowned xenobiologist, and Commander Raj Johnson, an expert in tactical operations, stood ready to face whatever awaited them. As the Endeavour approached the planet, the extent of the Shalarian dilemma became starkly apparent. Shalaria was a world of breathtaking beauty, with verdant forests, towering mountains, and vast oceans. However, the devastation was equally striking. Enormous creatures roamed the landscape, their roars echoing across the plains. Cities lay in ruins, and the once thriving population was now confined to heavily fortified enclaves. Zartan greeted the human delegation at the main research facility, a sprawling complex protected by energy shields and guarded by nervous Shalarians. The air was thick with tension and the acrid smell of burning vegetation. "Welcome to Shalaria," Zartan said, his voice tinged with sorrow. "This was once a paradise. Now it is a battleground." Dr. Mitchell's eyes widened as she observed the alien flora and fauna. "These creatures, they're magnificent. What went wrong?" Zartan led them through the facility, explaining as they walked. "We created these beings to serve us, to help with labor and defense. They were designed to be intelligent, adaptable, and powerful. But something went awry. Their intelligence grew beyond our control, and they began to assert their dominance. Our attempts to subdue them only made them more aggressive." Commander Johnson surveyed the surroundings with a tactical eye. "So you're saying that you've been fighting a losing battle against your own creations?" Zartan nodded solemnly. "Indeed. Our technology, which once made us masters of our world, has now become our downfall. We heard of humanity's unique ability to tame and bond with other species. We hoped you might succeed where we have failed." Captain Carter exchanged a glance with his team. "We're here to help, Zartan. We'll do everything we can to bring these creatures under control and restore peace to your world." As they delved deeper into the research facility, the team encountered containment areas where Shalarians had managed to capture a few of the less aggressive creatures. These areas were heavily fortified, with multiple layers of security. Dr. Mitchell approached one of the containment units, her scientific curiosity piqued. Inside was a creature that resembled a massive feline with iridescent fur and piercing, intelligent eyes. Despite its confinement, it exuded a sense of grace and power. "Fascinating," Dr. Mitchell murmured. "These creatures are unlike anything we've seen. If we can understand their behavior and physiology, we might be able to find a way to communicate with them." Captain Carter placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Let's get to work. Time is of the essence." Over the next few days, the human team worked tirelessly, using a combination of advanced technology and empathetic interaction to study the creatures. They observed their social structures, communication methods, and responses to various stimuli. To the astonishment of the Shalarians, the humans began to make progress. One evening, as Dr. Mitchell conducted an experiment with the feline-like creature, it responded to her gentle approach with curiosity rather than aggression. It emitted a series of low melodic sounds, almost as if it were trying to communicate. "Did you see that?" Dr. Mitchell exclaimed, turning to her colleagues. "It's responding to us. We're making a connection." Sartan watched in awe, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Incredible. Perhaps there is hope after all." As the days turned into weeks, the bond between humans and Shalarians grew stronger. The team's success in taming the creatures inspired a renewed sense of optimism. The Shalarians began to assist in the effort, learning new ways to interact with their creations. However, the road ahead was fraught with challenges. Vartul, a rival scientist, harbored deep-seated resentment towards the humans' methods. His belief in extermination over taming would soon threaten the fragile progress they had made. But for now, the human team remained focused on their mission, determined to prove that humanity's unique ability to tame and bond with other species could bridge the gap between civilizations and restore peace to a troubled world. Back aboard the Endeavour, the atmosphere buzzed with urgency and purpose. The crew worked around the clock, retrofitting the ship with advanced containment units and preparing for the mission ahead. Captain Carter called a meeting in the briefing room, where the key members of the team gathered to discuss their strategy. "All right, team," Carter began, his voice firm and authoritative. "We've made some headway in understanding the creature's behavior, but we're going to need to be fully prepared for what lies ahead. Our goal is to bring as many of these creatures under control as possible and ensure the safety of the Shalarians." Dr. Mitchell stepped forward, her face serious. "We've identified key behaviors and communication signals among the creatures. Our initial success with the feline-like creature shows that they are capable of understanding and responding to empathetic interaction. We'll need to use a combination of pheromones, ultrasonic frequencies, and direct communication to establish trust and cooperation." Commander Johnson nodded. "We also need to be ready for any resistance. Vartul and his faction pose a significant threat to our mission. We must be vigilant and prepared for sabotage or direct conflict." Lieutenant Chen spoke up next. "I've been working on enhancing our communication systems to maintain constant contact with the away teams. We'll be able to relay real-time data and coordinate our efforts more effectively." Captain Carter looked around the room, seeing the determination in each of his crew members' faces. "Let's make this count. Humanity has a chance to prove our worth and save a civilization. We won't let them down." The team dispersed, each member diving into their respective tasks. Dr. Mitchell and her team fine-tuned their equipment, ensuring they had everything needed to interact with the creatures. Commander Johnson drilled his tactical team, preparing them for potential combat situations. The engineers reinforced the containment units, making them capable of holding even the most formidable of creatures. As the Endeavour approached the Shalarian homeworld once more, the crew was ready. They knew the challenges would be immense, but they also knew that their unique abilities and determination could make a difference. The Endeavour descended into the atmosphere of Shalaria, the crew's eyes glued to the view screens as they witnessed the devastation below. Towering beasts roamed freely, their roars echoing through the air. The landscape, once lush and vibrant, was now marred by destruction and chaos. The fortified cities of the Shalarian stood as isolated bastions of civilization amidst the turmoil. Captain Carter and his team made their way to the main research facility, where Zartan and a group of Shalarian scientists awaited their arrival. The facility was a hive of activity, with researchers and engineers working tirelessly to support the human team's efforts. "Welcome back," Zartan greeted them, his expression a mix of hope and anxiety. "We've made some improvements to our containment areas based on your recommendations. We believe we are ready to begin the next phase of our collaboration." Dr. Mitchell nodded, her focus sharp. "Let's get to work. We need to establish a strong bond with these creatures and show them that we mean no harm." The team divided into smaller groups, each assigned to a different containment area. Dr. Mitchell and her colleagues approached one of the larger creatures, a massive reptilian beast with razor-sharp claws and a long, sinuous tail. The creature watched them with wary eyes, its muscles tense and ready to strike. "Easy, big guy," Dr. Mitchell murmured, holding out a device that emitted a series of calming pheromones. The creature sniffed the air, its posture relaxing slightly. "That's it, we're not here to hurt you." Using a combination of soothing sounds and gentle movements, the team slowly approached the creature. To their relief, it began to respond, lowering its head and emitting a low, rumbling sound that seemed almost content. Meanwhile, Commander Johnson and his team worked with a group of smaller, more agile creatures. These creatures moved with lightning speed, their keen senses picking up on every detail of their surroundings. Johnson used ultrasonic frequencies to communicate with them, gradually gaining their trust. "Keep it steady," Johnson instructed his team. "We're making progress, but we can't rush this. They need to know we're allies, not threats." As the days passed, the human team continued to build on their successes. They tamed more creatures, gradually bringing them under control. The Shalarians, who had once viewed these beings with fear and hostility, began to see them in a new light. The possibility of coexistence and mutual benefit started to take root in their minds. Zartan observed the transformation with awe. "Your methods are truly remarkable. We had lost hope, but now we see a future where our creations can be our partners rather than our enemies." Captain Carter smiled, feeling a sense of pride and accomplishment. "This is just the beginning. Together, we can restore balance to your world and build a brighter future for all." However, not everyone was pleased with the progress. Vartul and his faction, still convinced that extermination was the only solution, grew increasingly agitated. They viewed the human success as a threat to their power and beliefs. Tension simmered, and the threat of sabotage loomed ever closer. Unbeknownst to the human team, a storm was brewing. The path to peace and cooperation was fraught with danger, and the true test of their resolve was yet to come. Dr. Mitchell's team stood in front of one of the largest containment units, housing a creature they had dubbed the Titan. It was a massive quadrupedal beast, with thick armor-like scales and a menacing set of horns. The creature had been one of the most aggressive and difficult to control, making it a critical test for their taming methods. "All right, everyone, this is it," Dr. Mitchell said, her voice steady but laced with anticipation. "We've made progress with the smaller creatures, but the Titan will be our biggest challenge yet. Follow the protocols we've established and stay alert." Using a combination of the calming pheromones and ultrasonic frequencies, the team approached the containment unit. The Titan snorted and pawed at the ground, its eyes locked onto the humans with a mixture of curiosity and aggression. "Slow and steady," Dr. Mitchell murmured, holding out a device that emitted a series of rhythmic pulses designed to mimic the creature's natural communication patterns. The Titan's posture began to relax, its aggressive stance softening slightly. It lowered its head, sniffing the air cautiously. Dr. Mitchell took a step closer, her movements deliberate and non-threatening. The team followed her lead, maintaining a respectful distance while emitting the calming signals. To their astonishment, the Titan began to respond. It emitted a low, rumbling sound, almost like a purr, and took a tentative step towards Dr. Mitchell. She held her ground, extending a hand slowly. The Titan sniffed her hand, then gently nudged it with its massive head. "Incredible," Zartan breathed, watching from a safe distance. Your methods are working. Dr. Mitchell smiled, her heart pounding with exhilaration. This is just the beginning. Let's keep building this bond. Over the next few hours, the team continued to interact with the Titan, gradually gaining its trust. They fed it specially formulated nutrients and used tactile interaction to reinforce positive behavior. The Titan, once a symbol of uncontrollable rage, began to exhibit signs of affection and cooperation. As word of their success spread, more Shalarians gathered to witness the remarkable transformation. Hope began to replace the despair that had gripped their society for so long. The human team's achievements inspired a renewed sense of optimism and possibility. However, not everyone was pleased. Vartul, watching from the shadows, seethed with anger. He saw the human success as a threat to his power and influence. Determined to undermine their efforts, he began to plot his next move. With the initial success of taming the Titan, Dr. Mitchell and her team expanded their efforts. They set up multiple containment units, each housing different species of the Shalarians' bioengineered creatures. Their approach remained consistent: empathy, communication, and gradual trust building. One of the most remarkable breakthroughs came with a creature they named the Sky Serpent. This serpentine being, capable of flight, had been one of the most elusive and dangerous. Dr. Mitchell and her team used drones equipped with pheromone dispensers and ultrasonic emitters to engage with the Sky Serpent from a distance. After days of patient interaction, the Sky Serpent began to respond positively. It allowed the drones to approach, eventually leading it to land and interact directly with the humans. The sight of the once feared creature soaring gracefully above them, now under control, was a testament to the effectiveness of their methods. As the team continued to tame more creatures, they shared their techniques with the Shalarian scientists. Zartan and his colleagues eagerly absorbed the new knowledge, applying it to their own efforts. The collaborative spirit between humans and Shalarians grew stronger, fostering a sense of unity and mutual respect. However, the progress was not without its challenges. The creatures were highly intelligent and required constant engagement to maintain their trust. Any lapse in attention or miscommunication could lead to setbacks. The team remained vigilant, understanding that their success hinged on their unwavering commitment to empathy and understanding. One evening, as Dr. Mitchell was reviewing data in the lab, Captain Carter approached her. "Lena, you've done an incredible job. The Shalarians are beginning to see the potential for coexistence with their creations." Dr. Mitchell smiled, exhaustion and satisfaction evident in her eyes. "It's been a team effort, Captain, and we couldn't have done it without the Shalarians' willingness to embrace a new approach." Carter nodded, his expression thoughtful. "We're making progress, but we need to stay alert. Vartul is still out there, and I have no doubt he'll try to sabotage our efforts." As if on cue, a loud explosion rocked the facility. The alarms blared and the lights flickered. "Security breach," came the urgent voice over the intercom. "Containment units compromised." Carter and Dr. Mitchell rushed to the control room, where Commander Johnson was already coordinating the response. "We've got multiple containment breaches," Johnson reported, his voice tense. "Vartul's faction has released several untamed creatures into the facility. We need to secure the area and protect the Shalarians," Carter ordered. "Mitchell, can your team help re-establish control over the creatures?" Dr. Mitchell nodded, her resolve steeling. "We'll do our best. Let's move." The facility descended into chaos as untamed creatures rampaged through the corridors. The human team, along with Shalarian security forces, mobilized to contain the threat. Using their taming techniques, they worked to calm the creatures and prevent further destruction. In the midst of the turmoil, Vartul's forces attacked, aiming to destabilize the human-Shalarian alliance. A fierce battle erupted, with both sides fighting desperately to gain the upper hand. Captain Carter led his team with determination, coordinating their efforts to protect the Shalarians and bring the creatures back under control. Dr. Mitchell, using every ounce of her expertise, worked tirelessly to re-establish the bonds they had formed with the creatures. The battle raged on, testing the limits of their endurance and resolve. But through sheer determination and the strength of their unity, the human and Shalarian forces managed to repel Vartul's faction and restore order to the facility. As the dust settled and the injured were tended to, Captain Carter addressed the gathered crowd. "This attack has shown us the importance of our mission. We cannot allow fear and division to undermine our efforts. Together, we will continue to build a future where humans, Shalarians, and their creations can coexist in peace." Dr. Mitchell, standing beside him, felt a surge of pride and hope. Their journey was far from over, but they had proven that empathy, understanding, and cooperation could overcome even the greatest challenges. The bond between humans and Shalarians had been tested and had emerged stronger than ever. The aftermath of Vartul's attack left the Shalarians and the human team exhausted but resolute. Captain Carter and his crew knew they had to secure the progress they had made and push forward with renewed vigor. The facility was fortified further, and security protocols were tightened to prevent any future breaches. The Shalarians, now more united than ever, rallied behind the humans, determined to see their world restored. In the days that followed, Dr. Mitchell's team redoubled their efforts to tame the creatures. The attack had set them back, but it had also demonstrated the creatures' potential for loyalty and cooperation. The Titan, now a symbol of their success, had fought alongside the humans and Shalarians, proving the effectiveness of their methods. Captain Carter called a meeting with Zartan and the other Shalarian leaders. "We've shown that our methods work, but we need to ensure that this cooperation extends beyond this facility. We need to reach other Shalarian cities and help them implement these techniques." Zartan nodded, his eyes filled with determination. "I agree, Captain. We have the knowledge and the means. We must spread this hope to all our people." Dr. Mitchell proposed a plan to create mobile teams that could travel to different cities, bringing with them the techniques and tools needed to tame the creatures. These teams would consist of both humans and Shalarians, symbolizing their united front against the common threat. With the plan in place, the Endeavor was transformed into a mobile command center, equipped with advanced containment units, medical facilities, and communication arrays. The first destination was a nearby city that had been under constant siege by the creatures. As the Endeavor approached the beleaguered city, the sight was grim. The city's defenses were barely holding, and the people were living in fear. The arrival of the Endeavor and the sight of the Titan, now a calm and cooperative ally, brought a spark of hope to the weary Shalarians. The human Shalarian team quickly set up a base of operations and began their work. Dr. Mitchell and her team initiated contact with the city's creatures, using the same empathetic and communicative techniques that had proven successful before. The local Shalarians watched in awe as the humans interacted with the creatures, slowly but surely gaining their trust. Commander Johnson coordinated the defense of the city, using the tamed creatures to reinforce the weakened defenses. The sight of humans and Shalarians working side by side, supported by their once feared creations, inspired a wave of optimism and resilience among the city's inhabitants. Over the following weeks, the team managed to tame a significant number of creatures, restoring a semblance of peace to the city. The success was a beacon of hope, spreading the message that cooperation and empathy could overcome even the direst of threats. One evening, as the team gathered to review their progress, Zartan addressed them. "You have brought us hope and shown us the way forward. The bond between our species and our creations is stronger than ever. We have much work ahead, but we can face it with renewed confidence." Captain Carter smiled, feeling the weight of the responsibility, but also the satisfaction of their achievements. "This is just the beginning. We will continue to stand together, and together we will rebuild your world." Just as the human and Shalarian alliance began to gain momentum, an unexpected and grave threat emerged from within. Vartul, who had been biding his time, gathered his followers and launched a full-scale rebellion. He was determined to overthrow the current Shalarian leadership and eradicate the creatures once and for all. Under the cover of darkness, Vartul's forces sabotaged several key facilities and released untamed beasts into the city, sowing chaos and fear. The rebellion aimed not only to disrupt the efforts of the Human-Shalarian alliance, but also to take control of the Shalarian government. The city, which had just started to recover, was thrown into turmoil. Captain Carter, Dr. Mitchell, and Commander Johnson quickly mobilized their forces, knowing that they had to act swiftly to prevent complete disaster. Carter called an emergency meeting with Zartan and the other leaders. "Vartul has shown his hand. We must defend the city and protect our progress. We can't let him undo everything we've worked for." Zartan, his face grim, nodded in agreement. "We will stand with you, Captain. Vartul's actions are a threat to all of us." As the city descended into chaos, the human and Shalarian forces fought valiantly to repel Vartul's followers and contain the rampaging creatures. Commander Johnson led the tactical operations, directing the defense efforts and coordinating with the tamed creatures to push back the rebels. Dr. Mitchell and her team focused on calming the untamed beasts, using their knowledge and techniques to re-establish control. It was a daunting task, as the creatures, agitated by the chaos, were more difficult to tame than before. In the midst of the battle, Captain Carter led a strike team to confront Vartul directly. They navigated through the war-torn city, facing both rebel forces and untamed creatures. The final confrontation took place in the heart of the city, where Vartul had set up his command post. Vartul, surrounded by his loyalists, sneered as Carter and his team approached. "You think you can save this city, Captain? You think you can tame these abominations? You are fools." Carter, his expression resolute, replied, "We believe in cooperation and understanding, Vartul. Your way leads to destruction. Stand down, and we can find a way forward together." Vartul laughed derisively. "There is no future with these creatures. They must be destroyed, and you will not stop us." A fierce battle ensued, with Carter and his team fighting valiantly against Vartul's forces. The clash was intense, and both sides suffered heavy losses. But through sheer determination and the support of their tamed allies, Carter's team managed to break through Vartul's defenses. In a final desperate act, Vartul attempted to unleash a massive, untamed beast upon the city. But Dr. Mitchell, arriving just in time, used her expertise to calm the creature, preventing it from causing further destruction. With Vartul defeated and his rebellion quelled, the city began to stabilize. The Human-Shalarian alliance, though battered, emerged stronger and more united. The defeat of Vartul was a turning point, demonstrating the power of cooperation and the possibility of a peaceful coexistence. As the city recovered from the rebellion, Captain Carter addressed the gathered Shalarians and his crew. "We have faced great challenges, and we have overcome them together. Our bond is strong, and our mission is clear. We will continue to work for a future where humans, Shalarians, and their creations can thrive in harmony." Dr. Mitchell stood beside him, her heart swelling with pride. The path to peace was still fraught with challenges, but they had proven that with empathy, understanding, and unity, they could overcome even the greatest obstacles. The future of Shalaria was bright, and humanity's legacy as tamers and bridge builders was secure. With Vartul's rebellion quelled, the city began to rebuild. The bond between humans and Shalarians grew stronger, and their efforts to tame the creatures continued with renewed vigor. However, the threat of untamed beasts still loomed large, and the need for a comprehensive solution became increasingly urgent. Captain Carter, Dr. Mitchell, and Commander Johnson convened with Zartan and the Shalarian Council to discuss their next steps. "We've made significant progress," Carter began, "but we need a long-term strategy to ensure the safety of all Shalarians and their cities." Zartan nodded. "Agreed, Captain. Our immediate goal should be to establish safe zones in every major city and to continue taming the creatures. But we must also address the root of the problem, the rogue genetic programming that causes the creature's aggression." Dr. Mitchell suggested a bold plan. "We need to create a central facility where we can conduct extensive research on the creature's genetics and behavior. If we can identify and modify the rogue elements, we can prevent further aggression and ensure a stable coexistence." The Council approved the plan, and the Endeavor was tasked with transporting key personnel and equipment to the proposed research site, an isolated island with minimal risk of collateral damage. As the team set up the new facility, they knew they were racing against time. The creature's aggression was escalating, and reports of attacks on other cities were becoming more frequent. Just as the facility became operational, disaster struck. A massive horde of untamed creatures, driven by some unknown force, converged on the island. It was as if they were being drawn by the very efforts to control them. Captain Carter quickly organized the defense, knowing that this battle would determine the fate of their mission. "We can't let them destroy the facility. This is our best chance to save both the Shalarians and their creations." Commander Johnson and his tactical team set up defensive positions around the perimeter, using a combination of energy barriers and weaponry. Dr. Mitchell and her team prepared their taming devices, ready to calm as many creatures as possible. The battle was fierce and chaotic. The creatures, seemingly coordinated, attacked in waves, testing the humans' defenses. Despite their best efforts, the barriers began to falter under the relentless assault. In the midst of the chaos, Dr. Mitchell made a crucial discovery. The creature's behavior was being influenced by a central signal, possibly emanating from an unknown source on the island. "If we can find and neutralize the source, we might be able to stop the attack," she realized. Captain Carter, understanding the gravity of the situation, formed a small strike team to locate the signal's origin. "Dr. Mitchell, lead the way. We'll cover you." The team fought their way through the island, following Dr. Mitchell's readings. The closer they got, the more intense the creature's attacks became. Finally, they reached a hidden cave, where an ancient alien device pulsed with a malevolent energy. "It's some kind of control beacon," Dr. Mitchell exclaimed. "It must be amplifying the creature's aggression." Commander Johnson and his team set explosives around the beacon, while Dr. Mitchell worked to deactivate it. As the countdown began, the team fought off a final, desperate onslaught of creatures. Just as the creatures broke through their defenses, the explosives detonated, destroying the beacon and neutralizing the signal. The effect was immediate. The creatures, once driven by uncontrollable rage, suddenly calmed and retreated into the forest. The battle was over, but the cost had been high. Many brave souls had fallen, and the facility had sustained significant damage. Back at the facility, Captain Carter addressed the weary survivors. "We've won this battle, but our work is far from over. We've proven that we can overcome any challenge when we stand together. Let's honor those we've lost by continuing to fight for a future where humans, Shalarians, and their creations can coexist in peace." In the aftermath of the battle, the Human-Shalarian Alliance focused on rebuilding and strengthening their efforts to tame and coexist with the creatures. The research facility was repaired and fortified, becoming a beacon of hope and progress. Dr. Mitchell and her team intensified their research, aiming to unlock the genetic secrets that had led to the creature's aggression. Months passed, and the Alliance's efforts bore fruit. The research team made significant breakthroughs in understanding and modifying the creature's genetic programming. They developed a stable method to neutralize the rogue elements, ensuring that future generations of creatures would be peaceful and cooperative. The success of their efforts was celebrated across Shalaria. Cities that had once lived in fear now thrived with the help of their tamed creatures. The bond between humans and Shalarians grew ever stronger, marked by mutual respect and admiration. Captain Carter, Dr. Mitchell, and Commander Johnson stood on a hill overlooking the rebuilt research facility, reflecting on their journey. "We've come a long way," Carter said, a sense of pride in his voice. "But this is just the beginning. Our mission isn't just about taming creatures. It's about building a future where our species can learn from each other and grow together." Dr. Mitchell smiled, her eyes filled with hope. "We've shown that empathy and understanding can overcome even the greatest challenges. The Shalarians have taught us as much as we've taught them." Commander Johnson, ever pragmatic, added, "We need to stay vigilant. There will always be new challenges, but we've proven that we can face them together." As the sun set over the horizon, Zartan joined them, his face reflecting the gratitude and hope of his people. "You have given us more than just a way to tame our creations. You have given us hope and a future. The bond between our species will shape the destiny of our world and beyond. The Alliance held a grand ceremony to honor those who had sacrificed their lives and to celebrate the new beginning. Shalarians and humans stood side by side, united by a common purpose and a shared vision of the future. The ceremony concluded with a symbolic gesture, the release of a tamed sky serpent into the sky, a symbol of their newfound harmony. Captain Carter addressed the assembly. Today we celebrate not just our victories, but our unity. Together we have proven that no challenge is insurmountable. Our journey is far from over, but with each step, we move closer to a brighter, more harmonious future. Dr. Mitchell and Commander Johnson stood with him, their hearts filled with pride and hope. They knew that their work would continue, and that their efforts had laid the foundation for a new era of cooperation and coexistence. As the crowd dispersed, Carter, Mitchell, and Johnson shared a quiet moment, looking up at the stars. They had faced incredible challenges and emerged victorious, not through force, but through empathy, understanding, and unity. The future of Shalaria, and perhaps the galaxy, was brighter because of their efforts. The legacy of humanity as tamers and bridge builders was secure, and the journey toward a peaceful, cooperative future had just begun.